Hello everyone and welcome to part 20 of our F1 22 driver career mode here with Williams for the Dhabi Grand Prix in round 10 of season 2, the final round of the season. Last time out in Brazil we were able to come home with a P9 and getting ourselves a couple of points, which isn't our greatest result, but it was an interesting race either way with Verstappen rounding out the championship. He is the season 2 champion. Leclerc cannot get enough points now to take that away from him, so going into this last race there is nothing to lose for these front guys. It'll be interesting to see how they go. Red Bull, I believe it's still mathematically possible for Ferrari to win the Constructors, but Red Bull have too much of a gap, 33 points. I very highly doubt that Ferrari will be able to snatch that away in the final round here. In terms of the pecking order heading into the last one, Ferrari bring one last upgrade to make themselves on par with Red Bull, so those two pretty much equal. It'll be interesting to see how that plays out. We've also got Alpine making a small gain on McLaren, and McLaren themselves getting a small gain on Mercedes. We bought a minor upgrade, so we slightly moved up as well. And yeah, the midfield just getting closer than ever. So heading into season 3, it's going to be real interesting to see how that season plays out. I imagine there'll be a lot more surprise podiums, possibly even winners. You know, for example, we've already had Alpine win 2 races this season, which is just insane and crazy to see. But yeah, heading into this one, anything could be possible. I feel like this, with no regulation changes, this is sort of going to be a glimpse into how things look heading into season 3, minus obviously any driver changes or anything that could potentially happen. So yeah, it's going to be real interesting to see how this all plays out. But let's get into the grid rundown for the Dhabi Grand Prix.
Time to see how our drivers are stacking up after yesterday's exciting qualifying session. A fantastic effort from Charles Leclerc yesterday, and it's put him on pole. Sergio Perez lines up alongside. Moving on to the rest of the grid, we have Russell, Fernando Alonso, Benjamin, and Sainz. They'll be starting further back after an earlier grid penalty. Magnussen, Verstappen, Mick Schumacher, and Lando Norris. They've taken a grid penalty. Hamilton, Vettel, Lance Stroll, and Latifi. Ocon, Albon, Guan Yu Zhou. They'll be starting further back after an earlier grid penalty. And Daniel Ricciardo, Gasly, and Yuki Tsunoda. Which of these talented drivers will come out on top today?
After the points finished last race, let's aim to keep that momentum going.
So here we are lining up in P5 on the grid for the Dhabi Grand Prix. Obviously, we didn't qualify this high up, but if you watch the grid rundown, you would have seen a lot of grid penalties for a lot of people heading into this one. So that has elevated us up, and a few others as well, like Alonso, and that should make for quite the race with some faster cars making their way through. It is just the general one stop from the medium to the hard, but a couple cars, including our teammate, I believe, starting on the soft compound tyres, trying to see, I guess, maybe if the strategy from Portugal works. I'm not too sure. I doubt it. This track is a bit more tyre wear intensive, but I guess in the last round of the season, when most championship battles are wrapped up, you might as well do a bit of testing heading into season 3. But we line up on the grid in our slot number 5 here, very nicely with an optimal positioning, and being so far up the grid, quite the opposite to last time out in Brazil. We have to wait a long time for the lights to start going on, but here they are. We are at 5 red lights, and we are underway now for the Dhabi Grand Prix. It's a pretty crap start from ourselves. Sainz on the soft compound tyres gets an amazing start, going straight from P6, attacking for P3. We got Magnussen on our inside. He started in P7, and now we've also got Verstappen trying to find a way through as well, the now champion of this season, looking to have a good race here in the final round to round out a pretty good year for himself. Meanwhile, up ahead, Fernando Alonso in the Alpine. Remember, he won not last time, but he won a couple of races ago in the USA, and is looking to move himself ahead of George Russell into P4 now, as we all get into a big slipstream train down towards the first chicane on the track here in this new layout. Alonso looks to the outside of the Mercedes, and that'll give him the inside for the second part if he can hold it there. Is he able to? Yes, he does. He keeps his nose on the inside. That's going to slow these guys down a lot. which is going to help us try and get the position, possibly both of them here. Can we go for a double overtake? We're in the slipstream. We look to the inside. We're going to make it 3 wide heading towards this new hairpin here. Are we going to get the move? Yes, we do. We sneak ahead of both of them into P4. So a really good race start from ourselves here. In the end, we only moved up 1 position, but to get ourselves into P4 is very, very good, and hopefully we can try and hold on to it. You can see the top 3, the 2 Ferraris, and Sergio Perez starting to take off in the lead up ahead, and I doubt.
I've got some information on Alonso. They've got an issue with their car. They're going to be slow.
I was going to say, I doubt we're going to be able to catch them, but we just got a message from Mark, as you would have seen, that Alonso has some sort of issue here, and so that immediately coming into effect here on lap number 2 is Russell now on the exit of the hairpin looking to get the move done. He's got Max Verstappen in behind, so these guys are now going to go 3 wide. This is the second time now in 2 laps that Alonso and Russell find themselves in a 3 wide situation. Can Verstappen get the both of them like we were able to? He's got Fernando. Is he going to get... Yes, he does. He's alongside the Mercedes, so Russell trying to hold on to P5 for now, but Verstappen hungry to get these positions. Meanwhile, further back, Magnussen now trying to go through on Fernando Alonso. So we've held on to P4 because of all these guys battling, which is very helpful for us. Russell around the outside of the Mercedes here is going to hold on to the position and holds on to P5 ahead of Verstappen, who he did make up a spot in a P6. Magnussen also made up a spot there to get himself in a P7. So Alonso losing a whole heap of spots here in just 1 lap, and that is definitely highlighting that car has an issue, like Mark told us, as he now finds himself having to defend from Lewis Hamilton and Lando Norris. And here we are on lap 3 now. A very similar situation to George Russell in Coda, where he had an issue, and then just a little bit later the engine went bang. That's exactly what's happened to Fernando there. He had that issue for lap 2, and on lap 3 the engine is gone. And while that's happening, we now find ourselves under attack from Verstappen into the hairpin. We're going to try and hold the inside line, but in that Red Bull, he's just got way too much grip on us. So while we have improved this Williams quite a bit in the 2 seasons we've been driving it, it's still not quite up there compared to Verstappen's Red Bull, and so he is ahead of us into P4 for now, and I imagine he's going to drive off into the sunset, but I am going to try and stick with him for as long as I possibly can, and maybe use him as a bit of a tow, and help with some DRS as well might be good for us to try and at least hold the guys behind. For now, we've got George Russell, who'll be very hungry to try and get that position off of us as well in the Mercedes. Obviously, that's the seat that we're trying to get to. Not necessarily George's seat, but just one of the Mercedes seats either way. And Russell spins through turn 1, hunting us down. And so he's going to drop right down and out of the points. And Tsunoda's hit him, so is Gasly, and so is Zhou. Zhou is out of the race. He's lost his front tyre. Both of the AlphaTauris have lost both of the front wings. And George Russell, there's no visible damage. Actually, I'm going to guess he probably got some rear wing damage. There's no way he came out of that with absolutely nothing. But that was a very unfortunate incident. Most of the field got past him, but the further back you get, the less visibility there is. And so Tsunoda just came around the corner completely oblivious to what was happening and ran into the back of that Mercedes, and that has called in a safety car. So Carlos Sainz taking that opportunity to get pit in off of those soft compound tyres, so that's actually worked out really nicely for the Ferrari there. He was going to surely have to do a 2-stop, and so this is going to help him get one of those out of the way and put him pretty much on par with the rest of the field. But under safety car here on lap 5, you can see Tsunoda has come into the pit lane to fix his front wing, but that didn't really matter because he's going to retire with an engine failure there. So that's 2 engines gone in 5 laps. And for Tsunoda under safety car as well, that is a bit unusual. But we have seen over the course of the season that the Red Bull powertrain has been a bit unreliable. But here we are with an auto check now under safety car. Leclerc leading the way the last time. He'll be running the number 1 for at least a season now, as Verstappen has taken the crown off of him. Perez in P2 in the Red Bull ahead of his teammate Max Verstappen, who has made his way up to P3. So real good start to the race for Max. He started quite a bit back. He, I believe, had an engine penalty which put him a bit further down the grid. It's then ourselves in P4, a very good position for us. I believe this is equal best what we have finished so far this season. Magnussen also doing really well in the has to be P5 ahead of Hamilton, who hasn't had the greatest season in P6. Lando Norris, on the other hand, who has an incredible season, he's just behind him in P7. Schumacher in the other Haas also in the points in P8. Vettel having a very nice last race of his career in P9. Ocon rounding out the points in P10, and then Russell all the way down now in P14, just ahead of Carlos Sainz in P15, and then it's our teammate down in P16. I didn't cover it, but he did have to come into the pit lane to fix his front wing at the end of the lap, of the first lap, so that is why our teammate is right down the back of the grid. But here we are now, going on to lap 7 for the restart. It's a good restart for ourselves, not trying to really get any moves done on these front-running cars, but just more so trying to keep Magnussen behind us. And we have been able to do that there, at least for turn 1 and 2. But as we now head on to lap number 7, looking a bit further back, Carlos Sainz trying to make his way up through the field, going to the inside of George Russell. Also goes for a move on Stroll and Latifi. So he's gone for a triple overtake here on the safety car restart. And with a better exit out of the chicane there, you would have to assume he'll get the move done on the Alfa Romeo. Latifi doing a good job, though, to hold it alongside. I guess probably deploying a whole bunch of battery. But Sainz, on the better tyres, in the much better car, you would assume is going to get the move done here. And he does get himself into P12 from P15 there on the restart. So a very, very good start from Carlos. Meanwhile, now onto lap 10, Russell trying to get himself further up the field as well, going for a move on Lance Stroll around the outside of the hairpin. Will give him the better exit, but Stroll will have the slipstream now, and even though he doesn't have DRS, that Aston Martin seeming to be quick enough in a straight line to pull back alongside, and now that's Pierre Gasly in the Alpha Tauri going 3 wide with those guys. Meanwhile, up ahead, Mick Schumacher trying to attack Lando Norris, this is, with Carlos Sainz also trying to find a way through. And so because he tried to attack Lando, he's had a shocking run, allowed the Ferrari now to get a move on himself. And so while he was looking to get a move into P7, he's ended up dropping back to P9. And actually, Ocon making the most of the opportunity as well, trying to get the move done on the Haas. Is he going to be able to get the move done on the young German here? Around the outside, this is a very unorthodox place to try and get a move done, but he has got it done there in the Alpine. And so Schumacher, from going to looking for a move into P7, has ended up dropping back down to P10. Meanwhile, Sainz, an incredible few laps here from the safety car restart to get himself into P8. That's not enough for him now. On lap 12, Lando locks up there under pressure, and so Sainz moves himself into P7. So this is what I've been saying about Sainz. It's really weird. Sometimes he just has absolutely zero pace and will sit outside the points doing nothing. And then here, in just a few laps, he's gone from being down in P15 to trying to get into P7. So an incredible restart for Sainz, although he has been overtaken by Lando, as Lando did have the DRS there. And I imagine Sainz will be immediately back onto that to try and get the position off of the McLaren as we head down the straight. Is he going to be able to go for the move here? He is right behind in the slipstream, but unfortunately for him, not quite able to do it yet. Meanwhile, Schumacher has been overtaken by Ricciardo and now finds himself under attack from George Russell, unable to get the move done though, George Russell, and so Schumacher holds on to P11 for now. But on lap 12, we are going to come into the pit lane for our one and only pit stop of the race onto the hard compound tyre. And yeah, a very simple strategy around here, unless you obviously tried to do that 2-stop. But here we go, exiting the pit lane under this very unique pit exit here, making sure not to hit the walls, almost spinning the car slightly there on some hard, cold tyres. But in the end, we will have a bit of an undercut because I believe it was only us that came into the pit lane, maybe one other car. And so, it'll be interesting to see if the undercut or the overcut works around here. Meanwhile, Sainz going for a move on Lando Norris here on lap 13. Is he going to be able to get the move done this time round? It looks like he's got his nose ahead. Meanwhile, up ahead, the two Red Bulls battling away with each other. Obviously, no championship really at play here. They've pretty much got the constructors covered off. And Verstappen has won the drivers. So these guys free to battle, I'd assume. And Verstappen does get the move done there on his teammate to get into P2. Meanwhile, further back, it's a massive crash and Sainz is out of the race. So the bad luck continues for the Spaniard in the Ferrari. He was looking so good. I was just giving him my praises for what a good safety car restart he's had. But he's ended up crashing out there, trying to move himself into P7, and that has caused a safety car. So we'll have a look what's happened here. He's actually under attack from Esteban Ocon. Lando runs a little wide and Sainz just drives into the side of him. Ocon's been able to get a double overtake there. He's got ahead of Lando. But for Sainz, oh my goodness, he cannot catch a break in this career mode. Look at this, that's really not a move he should have gone for. I get there was a slight gap there, but it was always going to close. And Sainz has just driven straight into the side of Lando Norris. He actually ended up making contact with Ricciardo as well. That was more on Ricciardo, that one. You can see Russell actually has a penalty for that spin that he had a bit earlier on, where he crashed with the two Alpha Tauris. He'll serve that in his pit stop now, so that really won't mean anything. But that it wasn't ideal for us, that safety car, because that was on our outlap, which means everyone that didn't pit got a free pit stop. And so we've ended up losing a couple of positions because of that. So we'll look at an order check now here on lap 15 under the second safety car, with Leclerc still leading the way. Now it's Verstappen in P2 behind him, so that'll be an interesting battle to see. Perez in P3. Magnussen doing absolute wonders there in that Haas to be in P4, so an incredible race there for the Dane. Then Lewis Hamilton in P5, ourselves down in P6 after losing only a couple spots. We were very lucky. It was only a couple spots that we lost from that safety car timing. Ocon sitting in P7, as I said, he got ahead of Lando Norris, who now sits in P8. Vettel still finds himself in P9, so it'll be awesome to see the four-time world champion score some points in his final outing in Formula 1 in this career mode. And then it's Mick Schumacher, his good friend, in the second Haas there, still finding himself in the points after Sainz's DNF does promote him that one spot that he needed, and then Albon has made up some good positions to get himself into P11, so it'd be nice to see our teammate also get some points in the final round of the season. Meanwhile, George Russell down in P13 is going to have a little bit of work to get himself back into the points, but he hasn't had the greatest luck. I say more luck, it was his fault for the spin, really, so that's why he's down there. But as we now head on to the end of lap 15 for the safety car restart, again, trying to do the same thing, although maybe trying to get a position on Lewis Hamilton would be really nice here on the restart. Unfortunately, not quite able to get the exit that I wanted there. It was a good exit, just not much better than Hamilton's, and so we're going to have to wait until the sort of start of lap 17 now with the slipstream and deploying ERS here. He's going to go defensive, so we'll look to the outside, try and snag a bit of a toe off of the Haas up ahead, and we'll look to the outside of the chicane. Hamilton dives it late on the brakes. We'll go for the cut back there, get ourselves alongside, go around the outside of the second part of the chicane. Beautiful maneuver, get ourselves into P5, and we'll now try and chase down Kevin Magnussen for P4. Meanwhile, further back, Ocon now trying to get the move on Hamilton as well, as we would have slowed him down there as he was stuck on the inside of the second part of the chicane. Is Ocon going to sweep round the outside of the Mercedes? Yes, he is. What a move there from Ocon in the Alpine. Very brave. And that is the Ocon that we saw from Monza, sort of starting to peek through a bit again there. And yeah, it's a shame he hasn't been like that this whole season, but that punchy. But good to see he's still got it in him as we head towards Season 3. As we now go on to lap 19, though, Lando Norris also going for a move on Hamilton. So I don't know if this is because Hamilton has an issue or if this is just the pace that we've seen from Hamilton all season, because he really hasn't been on it. Lando gets the move done. Hamilton drops down to P8 now. And yeah, it just hasn't really been that great of a season from Hamilton. Hasn't really done anything that remarkable. As we look up ahead now, Ocon actually attacking us into the hairpin. Can we hold it round the outside like he was able to? We get a massive bit of understeer though, and then almost lose the car as I try and hold it in the marbles. And so we have to go right out wide into the runoff. Luckily, we saved the car, but we do lose the position to the Frenchman in the Alpine. As we now cut to lap 20 though, we have the DRS. We don't have much battery left, so we're just saving that a little bit, but that doesn't matter because we're going to be able to get to the outside anyway. We're going to try and go around the outside now for the first part. We'll have the inside for the second bit, and we actually do get the move done there. Ocon not trying to hold it around the outside there, interestingly enough. Perhaps trying to wait for the DRS, which he did get, but in the end, it's not enough for him to get the move back done on us there. It's only really enough for him to defend from Lando. And so for now, we're into P5. All that battling allowed Magnussen run away a little bit. But now on lap 22, in a couple laps of clean air, we have closed in on the Haas. Magnussen goes defensive, so we're going to go to the outside like we have a couple times already. Hold the outside line for the first part of the chicane. Inside for the second part. And just like Ocon, Magnussen backs out of it. And that is us into P4 for now. So it is incredible for us to be battling in P4. It's very cool to see Magnussen right up the front here battling away in that Haas, which really shouldn't be up here. It's not that great of a car, the Haas. It's obviously in the midfield because there isn't really a dead set back marker team, but it is definitely towards the rear of the midfield as Magnussen flies back past us here on lap 23 with the DRS. And so it is very cool to see Kevin right up here battling away in that McDonald's Haas that hasn't had an incredible season in the Season 2 here. We're now going to have the DRS to close in on Magnussen. Not enough to get the move done though. As we now cut to lap 24, we are chasing down Magnussen, but further back, Lando Norris attacking Esteban Ocon for P6 there. And so there's a lot of battles happening around here. You can see 3 wide happening further back as well between Russell, Ricciardo, and Vettel. And here we go, still with Ocon and Norris actually holding it side by side there through the chicane. Allows us to get away a bit, which is really good. That'll help us chase down Kevin Magnussen. But further back, it's going to be, I thought it was going to be 3 wide, not quite. These three are battling away with each other though as Hamilton tries to get through on Ocon now after Lando was able to get through to P6. Hamilton going to try and sweep around the outside, but he's not able to do it. Ocon holds on to his P7 for now, but Hamilton looking to get himself a bit further up the points. Lando now, the car behind us, and he is very quick in that McLaren. He has been all season, and so I don't want to wait around and see if he's able to get ahead of us. We're going to fly past the Haas here on lap 25, get ourselves back into P4. We're definitely not getting a podium unless there's some sort of retirement from those guys. They're 10 seconds up the road in their own world, battling away. And we do get them moving to P4 for now. We got a bit of a good run on Magnussen as well. However, on to lap 26, he's still within DRS. But here comes Lando now to try and spoil the party for the Haas car. He's going to look to the outside of the chicane. Magnussen very late on the brakes, almost hits the back of our car actually, so I left a bit of room there just because I wasn't quite sure where Magnussen was going to end up. He holds it around the outside of the McLaren, but they're going to go side by side. They both got DRS because they're within 1 second of myself. However, because they're battling, they're not really able to close in on me, and they're just allowing me to sort of just chill for a bit, which is exactly what I need. I need this time to recharge the battery. Lando around the outside of the Haas though does get the move into P5, Magnussen into P6, which is still very impressive for that Haas. It'd be nice to see him hold on to some good points though. However, unfortunately on lap 27 here, Esteban Ocon now going for a move on the Haas. Meanwhile, further back, the two Mercedes battling away with each other. So George Russell has got himself involved in this battle now. Ocon has got the move done on Kevin Magnussen. Russell trying to get the move done on Lewis Hamilton. He's got the inside for the chicane, so Lewis will hold around the outside. Daniel Ricciardo trying to get himself involved now in this. They'll all have DRS because Magnussen's just ahead of him. Magnussen actually doesn't have DRS. He's fallen outside of a second already. And it looks like Lewis is going to have the move done defending from Hamilton. Hamilton actually going for an attack on Magnussen. Magnussen holds on. Ricciardo has got the move done on Russell. Actually, not quite yet. They're going to go side by side here. So Russell looking to get himself into P8. It's actually looking to potentially fall down to P10. Ricciardo around the outside of the Mercedes gets the move done into the double left-hander here. And so that's a shame there for Russell. He won't be too happy about that. But that is the way it just goes sometimes. But what a race from Russell. Again, going to show how slow Hamilton has been this season. Russell making an incredible recovery to catch up to his teammate and get back into a battle with him as we head on to the second last lap of the race now. Lap 28, Norris in our slipstream is going to be looking to the outside here. I tried to go middle of the track to dissuade him from going for a move, but he's just picked the outside line here. So we'll have the inside for the first part of the chicane, outside for the second part, but we actually decided to go for the switch back there, and we unfortunately unable to get the exit that I wanted. However, we do get the DRS, deploying a bit of battery that we have, and so we get the move back into P4 for now, and we just have to try and hold on to this position for one more lap over the McLaren that is very, very quick at the moment. And so for now, P4 it is, but heading on to the last lap of the race, we've got Norris and Ocon riding behind us. Not the greatest line through the hairpin. That'll set the guys up behind us very nicely for a big overtake here down the straight with DRS. Obviously, we've got barely any battery left. I'm deploying everything I've got, and we're going to go 3 wide now down into the chicane. Ocon on our outside, Norris on our inside. We're going to get squeezed a little bit. Lando jumps over the inside curve, making a bit of contact. Ocon flies over the curve. We go for a massive switchback, going to get ourselves back into P4. Are we able to do it? We unfortunately don't get the DRS. Ocon hasn't opened his either for some reason. I'm not sure what's happened there, but we're going to go side by side now into the hairpin. Last time we tried to go around the outside of Ocon here, it didn't work out for us. I'm going to try again though, but just the understeer is too much, and so the Alpine gets through into P4, and I can't really see any way we're going to get back ahead of him. We're going to have to just stay as close as possible for maybe a last corner overtake. Magnussen has actually gotten himself ahead of Norris back into P6, so awesome to see there for the Haas getting himself involved. Norris won't be happy about that, as we head through the second to last corner now, into the last corner. We're going to go for a last anything has it dive bomb. Unfortunately, not able to get it, but it is in the end an incredible P5 and an incredible battle to finish the season.
Well, that's it. What a season. Great work this year. Really great work. It's been hard at times. We've come through it together. Well done.
That's it then, they've taken the win here as we wrap up another fantastic Formula One season. So, Anthony, what made the difference out there today?
I feel like consistency was probably the key today. There's being quick, and then there's being quick lap after lap after lap. If you can do that, you can capitalise on other people's errors without making many of your own. And that's an approach that can push you a long way up the field.
And here we are, a team that is no stranger to the podium, taking their place on top once again. A sublime race today, and a stunning win for Ferrari.
So here we are with the results for the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. Charles Leclerc takes one last win of the season and the fastest lap to take maximum of points away from the weekend. Max Verstappen ends up in P2, great recovery from P8. Sergio Perez rounds out the podium. An incredible race from Ocon sees him finish in P4 from P15. It's ourselves finishing where we started in P5, so not a bad race in the end there. Magnussen, an incredible one to finish in P6 there in the Haas. Really good to see a good result for those guys. Lando Norris in P7 won't be happy with how that race ended. Hamilton won't be happy with a P8. Ricciardo 9th, and Russell won't be happy with a P10 either. A pretty poor race from Mercedes in the end. There you go. Confirmed results for the season. Verstappen winning the Drivers' Championship ahead of Leclerc. Lando Norris in P3 overtakes Sainz in the final round of the season there. Incredible season from the McLaren. A real poor one from Sainz, and Ferrari will be looking at that. Won't be too happy. Perez as well. Red Bull won't be too happy with an 85-point difference between them. As then Russell ahead of Hamilton. Ocon ends up ahead of Alonso and myself. Only 3 points separating the three of us in the end there. So that position between myself and Ocon at the end of the race actually decided that if I had finished 4th and Ocon 5th, I would have been 8th in the championship. Ocon would have been 10th. So that actually ended up being a pretty pivotal battle in the end. Unfortunately, Ocon got the better hand. But in the end, a P10 in the drivers can't be too disappointing. And Albon as well, finishing in P14 there. So he definitely could have finished further up, I reckon. He just had some really bad luck this season. In terms of the constructors, Red Bull do take it on 299 points, 40 points ahead of Ferrari. McLaren in P4, Alpine 5th. And then it's ourselves for Williams in a very nice P6 ahead of AlphaTauri in 7th. And then it's only 1 point back from them to Haas. Magnussen in getting them those points there in P8. So if he would have just been looking to get one more position, and they would have beat AlphaTauri. So shame there for Haas. AlphaTauri will be counting their lucky stars. But that is the end of the video and the end of the season. The next one will be the start of Season 3 with the pre-season and the first round of the season. So if you are looking forward to that, make sure to leave a like and subscribe if you want to see more in the future. And I'll see you all in the next one. Goodbye.